Hello everyone, this is Lala, and today I decided to do a pre-recorded live. Yes, I mentioned pre-recorded live. So essentially I'm kind of functioning this as a live where I'm really not going to edit this really, and I'm just going to just talk, but I'm going to upload it after I already did it, just because it's easier for me and I'm really not in the mood to do a whole bunch of editing. So I haven't done any sort of live in a few months, though I mentioned that I was going to start doing them more often. One of the reasons why I didn't is just because I really haven't found the need to or found a topic that would fit doing any sort of live. But then I realized, okay, I am breaking down the Big Brother eras, and I did the three eras that are completed, where there's a start, a medium, or the beginning, the middle, and the end. But in the current era that we are in, which is the diversity era, we are still in the middle of it. So first, I need to define what the diversity era is. So this era kind of started coming into place due to everything that was happening in the world, especially with the Black Lives Matter movement, the Stop Asian Hate, and COVID. That was kind of bubbling over from 2020, and things just got even worse. So when it comes to the era that started from Big Brother 23 to Big Brother 26, we're still in the middle of it, obviously. The main thing is the diversity quota, which came into play after Big Brother 22 took place. Though if you really look at the cast and some of the casting choices, it's pretty obvious that they're kind of toying around with doing it anyways. But it became a thing starting from Big Brother 23 due to the Black Survivor alumni talking about their concerns with being on the show, how they were portrayed racially, and all that stuff. And this took place during 2020. And they even got some non-Black Survivor alumni to really get into it. They hosted panels and conversations, and it was great. I don't know how CBS got into contact with it, but a few of them spoke to some executives at CBS because they really just wanted better representation for Survivor. But what they didn't realize is that CBS decided to put this mandate throughout all of their non-scripted shows, meaning all the reality shows, which of course includes Big Brother. And even if you look at some of the other reality shows on different networks, I feel like they kind of did the same thing with adding their own types of diversity quotas. So there's a lot of multifaceted racial and ethnic seasons as a result of that over the last 4 to 5 years. And with this new mandate being put on all CBS shows, it meant that half of the Big Brother seasons, and I mentioned Big Brother because obviously I'm focusing on Big Brother, half of each of these Big Brother seasons will have people of color on their cast. Though who is considered people of color is heavily debated. Hell, I've probably done a majority of it, and I'll probably do that even more, but that's kind of just not the point right now. So now that we got some of the context relating to how this era came to be when it comes to the diversity era, now it is time to go over the seasons in the era, kind of like I did with all the other eras, to see common trends, things that were notable or things that were introduced regarding the seasons that became a part of the formula or the structure of the show. Obviously, it's harder to do it now with these more recent seasons because the show's been on for over 20 years and the foundation has been more than set by this point in time, and things tend to be repetitive. So Big Brother 23 is the first season under this diversity quota where we had 6 people of black descent, whether they were mixed or monoracially black. And that is obviously the most ever on a Big Brother season pertaining to people in that diaspora. And there was an Asian person and a white Latina, but I guess because Alyssa is seen as biracial and half Latina, so she's a person of color. But all of those people make for the 8-person quota for that season. Though it's weird because being white and being a Latina isn't by racial. But I've discussed that quite a few times before, and hopefully I don't have to do it again, but we'll see. Of course, the six members of the Cookout, which is the alliance that had all the people in the Black diaspora, took advantage of the numbers that they had and the movement that was taking place in real life, with no one ever suspecting that they would be an all-black alliance, and they were able to create a structure in the house during the season where all of them made it to the end, making them the most successful alliance ever. Though really, they just took the brigade strategy with getting a pawn or a partner outside of the alliance so they can control all the numbers, and if they were nominated, the other person would go home due to the votes that they created. Regarding the twist and other stuff, there was the live move in, which is pretty consistent for the era, though that really started last season. And the reason why they did that is because they wanted to shorten the length of the season. And I also think is to sequester them longer and some other stuff, maybe for COVID protocol at the time, I don't really remember. So, what am I looking at here? Sorry, regarding the twists, they are pretty much the same that we have seen in the last three eras, mainly the last two eras, and specifically the last era when it comes to the frequency of them. But the twists that we have seen in the other eras include the teams twist, where the cast was divided into four for the first month of the season. There was the double or nothing twist, that was the flip coin twist, where Frenchie could have gained immunity, and also dumb nothingness, but this was actually a newer twist introduced in the season. There is the wild card twist this season, which lasted for the first few seasons, and was similar to the type that existed last season, and there's a high roller twist, where a bunch of twists were offered, and it was during the jury portion of the season. This is pretty similar to a lot of the twists that were done on the latter end of the last era, so from Big Brother 19 to Big Brother 22, we're throwing a bunch of twists in there randomly, and all of those twists being kind of disguised as one theme or one main contest. It's all just confusing. I've already described it there, and I really just don't care to describe it again. Ultimately, this season was shorter than the seasons in the last era, mainly due to COVID, and there was no returnee competition due to COVID as well, so this was a more quote-unquote back to basics element of the season as well. Of course, there's a lot of racial and civil rights discussion during the season, and I think it's remembered due to that, and its influence on this show came from that, instead of the real structure of the twist of the season. But when you really look at this, or look at it, these discussions were very popular and prominent during the first era of the show, and they made it on to the edit a lot of times. But even just looking at how these conversations were portrayed then in the early to mid 2000s compared to this era, you definitely see a more sanitization of it, whether it's them not wanting to get to the real nitty gritty of it, or certain things or certain talking points that were seen as offensive would just be edited out. So it really just shows how Big Brother is a time capsule, even if the same discussions are being had. They are portrayed and handled in a different way. Now we are moving on to Big Brother 24, and this is the season that I see as a clone to Big Brother 23, essentially, with the formatting and the pacing. So I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that COVID was still a strong factor at this point in time in 2022. It was the shortest season as well, in addition to there being no returnee anywhere in the season, where the 8 BIPOC rule remained in place. So you could actually, according to the casting rules of CBS, might be able to consider it to be more than 8 BIPOC, I don't like that term, but whatever, that were on the cast, though some people are iffy, as some had Latin heritage, but aren't considered, while some are considered white as well, so it is a mess, and suggests the bigger confusion of Latino not being a race that I've had to explain so many times, and it doesn't even seem like Big Brother knows what they're doing regarding this. But you know what? That is besides the point. When it comes to the twist, there was the backstage boss twist, which they hyped up as some huge twist where one person gets a backstage pass immunity for the first week, which Pooch got, and then they nominate 3 people who wouldn't be able to be nominated, couldn't play in competitions, but could be in danger as well. I didn't realize that they did this in BB26 as well for the first week. But anyways, the 3 people could face their first evictee in a competition to come back, or they would go home. And it was all just really lame and stupid. So, of course, there was a Fessy Bestie twist, which was essentially a duos twist, and it was a sibling twist of the pairs twist from Big Brother 13, and it was really only done in the second half of the pre-jury, so from week 3 to week 5, and I really don't know why they did this, but I felt like it didn't go as horribly as it did due to the leftovers forming and that huge flip, but otherwise it would have been so redundant. The other twist in the season that really stood out to me, or that took place, was the split house double eviction twist, where the final 10 was split into 5 or 2 groups of 5, where the 2 groups would evict one person and wouldn't interact with the other group, with one living in a house and the other living outside. And it was just shitty to watch then, and it's really not enjoyable now. And the fact that they kind of repeated this made it even worse, but I'll get more to that when it happens. So the season became a lot more simplistic regarding the twists, and I honestly do appreciate this. And there were less twists than Big Brother 23, which didn't even have much twist anyway. But there's a lot of the cultural, racial, and ethnic discussion within the season and the dynamics as well, though a lot of it was very icky and they definitely tried to hide. But due to all this, I definitely see it as a continuation of Big Brother 23. So things started to change quite a bit with Big Brother 25 pertaining some of the functions of the show, as it is the longest season ever at 100 days, beating all the seasons in the last era that came very close to this. Clearly, this was all done due to the SAG and the WAG, which is the Screen Actors Guild and the Writers Actors Guild, strikes that were taking place that year, and CBS needed to fill its time slot. So not only did they extend the season to 3 months, but they moved it back a month. So the programming of it would enter a decent amount into the fall season that would have been vacant due to it. So due to that, and COVID not really being as much of a factor compared to the prior 3 years, it caused for a return of some things that weren't in the last few seasons. So mainly returnees regarding people who were evicted and coming back, which happened with Jack's eviction being cancelled, and that was done after the vote was read, and Zombie Week, which was an excuse to add a week and Cameron coming back from it. Literally, there was an entire week where absolutely nothing happened, and the only other time that happened was during the first Final 5 week in Big Brother 2. So another major change that was notable is the classic jury format came back, and by this I'm referring to the size of the jury going back to 7, like it was in the first 2 eras of the show. We all know that it expanded to 9 at Big Brother 15, and it remained that way throughout the entirety of Era 3. And it started that way with this era, but they changed it here. But at the time, we thought that it was a one-timer thing due to them wanting to not have to pay 2 additional jurors the entire season stipend, so sending them home early, not technically wasn't early, especially in this season where the final 2 pre-jurors were booted at like day 60 something, which was like 2/3 through the season. But we all saw it as some sort of money-saving tactic. What was I looking at here? There were also these verses in the season, like BB Comic Verse, which had the Invisible HOH week that Jag had, and the 2 vetoes that were used in that week, as well as Matt winning that power to save the evictee. The Humillaverse, which was a bunch of girl stuff. The Scary Verse, which was the zombie boat crab. And the Scramble Verse, where 4 nominees happened, and the 17th house guest happened on day 1. So honestly, just reading about a lot of these verses and stuff like that was very confusing. And I felt like when it comes to the twists, this season was pretty close to a lot of the latter era 3 seasons, though something tells me that a lot of this was done so they could drag out the season, not really due to them wanting to go back to this. So, a lot of the stuff that happened in Big Brother 25 felt very circumstantial. Of course, there was the POC diversity mandate that was still present throughout the season, but I noticed that a lot of the conversations weren't as prevalent. I think it had to do with the fact that there are already two black winners that came from this era, so a lot of those conversations didn't really need to be had. I remember Suri actively shut down a cookout 3.0 or 2.0. But we did hear Jake, who's an Indian man, talk a lot about his culture, his racial identity, and his traditions, and that made it on the air as well. So it gave a different perspective to things. There were definitely some conversations, like the whole who's brown thing that happened earlier on in the season with America and Hazam that I've delved into, but of course that didn't really make it to the air. And hey, yeah, I really don't have much else to say about this season. It gives me a headache. And now we're going to go on to the final season of the era at this point. With Big Brother 26, I don't think I'll have a whole lot to say about this, but the overall theme of the season is AI. This calls for the fake 17th house guest twist on day 1, which really led to the upgraded power or downgrade punishment groupings, which led to the losers of the 2 competitions of that week being the BB mascot. So people who couldn't be nominated couldn't really. Actually, no, they could have been nominated. Sorry. They couldn't play in any competition, they couldn't vote, and none of that. So it's pretty similar to the stuff that happened in the first week of Big Brother 24, but they tweaked it a bit. And then there was America's veto, which was technically used on Big Brother Canada a few times, but the America's veto was used during the 3rd week, and obviously the prizes that was won on day 1 was the deepfake HOH, which was essentially an invisible HOH twist, which has been consistent in this era now that I think about it, with Claire and Jake both being invisible HOHs, so that's 3 out of the 4 seasons of the era, and then Mackenzie had her secret veto. There was Janky Week, which was very similar to Dire Fest, and it's just as lame, but the only difference is that the house wasn't split in 2, and everyone had to live outside for the week. I don't know why production thinks that this was cool, or whatever. Anyways, the AI Instigator, which was used on the 6th week, was somewhat like the Saboteur twist going all the way back to Big Brother 12, but it really went nowhere. And the main addition to the season is the AI Arena competition, where for the first, for the first half of the season, 3 nominees were taking place throughout the entire week for the first 7 or 8 weeks. But on eviction night, there was a competition that all 3 of the nominees played, where one of them would win safety as a result of the competition, causing for the other 2 to remain on the block, and the vote would happen right afterwards. This caused for some unpredictability in the eviction because no one knew for sure who would be the final 2 nominees. And it worked out this season. And you essentially couldn't do a backdoor with this twist in place because the person that you put up as the replacement nominee after the veto competition had a 1 in 3 chance of saving themselves due to their AI Arena twist. It's already been confirmed by the producers that this is coming back, and we also had the classic jury size continue this season from last season, so that seems to be consistency as well. So that's pretty much it regarding Big Brother 26 when it comes to some of the functions. I think by this point in time, a lot of the people who are getting cast on this show didn't really watch any of the seasons from the prior 3 eras, so nothing before Big Brother 23. So the POC mandate and the diversity was all that these house guests really knew about. And I think that's why there wasn't a whole lot of conversations regarding representation and stuff like that. Obviously, there still was some. We actually had a lot more perspective when it came to the Asian people on the cast, which was something that we really didn't get, though there was the overall POC talk that Tikor, Chemo, and Rubina kind of used and talked about throughout the season. It seemed like they kind of used it whenever it was convenient for them, but that was the main thing that happened throughout the season. So that is it for my recap of the 4 seasons of the era thus far. So now what I want to do is figure out similarities between the seasons in the era or the consistencies within the era. And like I kind of mentioned earlier, it's harder to do that when you're in the middle of an era or a time frame and not analyzing it well after the time frame ended, like the other 3 eras. So I'm basing it off of what I'm seeing right now, and things could easily change as future seasons of this era is added, and that'll be something that we have to talk about later, obviously. So the biggest commonality and the ribbon that ties everything together is the huge diversity quota, with half of the cast being people of color and half of the cast being white. It calls for a completely different dynamic where a bunch of people who were underrepresented through Big Brother history were able to find commonalities with people who look like them and have the same racial/ethnic background as them. Even just looking at the 4 winners of the season, sorry, not of the season, of the era so far, we have three black people who have won, where no black person has ever won Big Brother USA before this era. So clearly the increased diversity helped them out a lot. Though when you really think about it, only Xavier benefited from an all-black alliance, when that clearly wasn't the case with Chelsea and Taylor's wins. And the other person who won the season, Jag, is an Indian man. And I've discussed previously that, hold on, when did 2025 came out in 2023? So literally the first South Asian person or person of South Asian descent that was on Big Brother USA, which is Faisal, was 5 years before Big Brother 25. So literally for almost the first 2 decades of the show, there wasn't even a person of South Asian descent on it, but now we have a winner from there as well, and he's also considered Asian too. Obviously, there's a lot of discussion about how there hasn't been a white winner since Kobe, who ended the modern era with his All-Stars win. And I know a lot of people have kind of predicted that there'd be an all-white alliance containing of the minorities in the future, and we haven't seen that yet. Obviously, due to the diversity quota, race, ethnicity, and all these dynamics and the nuances of it were a bit more openly discussed, even to white people, which I personally think is kind of mixed, especially with the whole Kyle situation that happened on Big Brother 24. And even on Big Brother 23, people like Claire couldn't really do anything to save herself. And even though she kind of knew what was going on, or she predicted, or she had some inkling as to what was going on, she really couldn't vocalize anything, so she didn't really know how to respond. And obviously, I do think Claire was generally well intended, so she wasn't going to make any disparaging remark or anything like that. And then there's kind of the whole Angela situation in early Big Brother 26, which was, or from what we were told, it was a huge misunderstanding, but because we never saw it on the feeds, we really don't know. So another commonality or consistency with the era is that it seemed like they are doing less twists compared to the last era, where they literally threw anything at the wall to see what stuck. And they're not really doing that with this era. Of course, there were still twists implemented throughout the seasons, and they really weren't themed twists like they were on Era 2, where, for an example, Rivals was the main twist. Rivals and America's Player was the main twist of Big Brother 8. The couples were the main twist of Big Brother 9. The teams for Big Brother 11. The pairs for 13, coaches for 14, kind of things like that. That really wasn't the case with this era, with the only exception being Big Brother 26 with the whole AI thing. Generally, the twists that were introduced here were a lot more controlled compared to the past era. where specifically, where while there were random twists thrown in, it didn't overwhelm the season compared to one like Big Brother 18. So the other thing that I did note regarding the commonality and consistency of the era is that it did seem like they somewhat wanted to go on a more back to basics vibe, or as much as you can for a 2020s reality show, with shortening the length of the season compared to the last era, where most of those seasons were in like the 90-day period. I think Big Brother 18 had like 99 days, and a few other seasons had like 98 and 97 days, which isn't the case here with the exception of Big Brother 25. And we all know that that was due to the strike. And looking at the first two eras, the seasons were a lot shorter. There were like 80 something days. Some of them were even 70 something days. So I feel like the seasons of this era is getting closer to that, which was refreshing. Though I do think some of that had to do with outside factors. Another element where they wanted to go on a more back to basics element is that they shortened the jury to 7 people in the 2 most recent seasons. And because they did it in 26, coming from 25, it seemed like it's going to be a continuous thing. Obviously, people have complained about the 9-person jury, and I only feel like people started complaining about it because Paul lost twice and Tyler lost on BB18, BB19, and BB20, though the two of them knew that that was the format of the season with the 9-person jury, and they really didn't play to manage that. And they managed the first few jurors horribly, where generally it's usually the first few jurors who have the most influence on the jury overall. Maybe I should make another video about that. They never really stated why they started doing this. Obviously, for 25, it makes sense because they wanted to not have to pay as many people, and I feel like since it worked there, they decided to do that with this season. But the main difference is that they didn't start jury at like day 66 like they did on 25. With 26, they started it a bit earlier. And I guess it's kind of akin to Survivor in this era where you have to quote unquote fight to get to the merge or to the jury. So there's like 2 merge rounds where you can still be a pre-juror, so it's kind of like similar to what's happening here. And I know on Survivor, they did that because they wanted to save money where they don't have to hold them and pay them for going to the pre-jury Ponderosa trip. They just go home afterwards. So something tells me that that is the rationale for Big Brother. Obviously, it's different because it's different shows, but yeah. I can't really find any other commonalities between... Actually, no, that's a lie. I did notice that none of these seasons were heavy on the drama element. Obviously, Big Brother 23 is seen as one of the most static seasons of the show in general, so it really isn't shocking that the drama was kind of lackluster in comparison. Big Brother 24 had a lot of trash talking, especially in the earlier weeks, but a lot of the house guests really weren't confrontational personalities, and some of the fights that we did get really weren't the best of the best of the best. I feel like Big Brother 25 has more fights than the other two, but when you really think about it, only a few really stand out here and there. And I think due to the season dragging along, they just kind of got tired. And with the more boring side starting to take over during the second half of the season, the drama considerably decreased. And then with 26, yes, I think some of the biggest fights of the era came from this season, obviously with the whole Crazy Eyes situation. Then there was Tucker and Angela just being menaces in general, the whole Tucker and Cedric thing. And then Angela got into a few fights on her own, but things kind of started petering out by the time we got to the last third of the season. And yeah, but when you really look at the fights in this era compared to the past 3 eras, it is very minimal. And it seemed like production actually goes out of their way to hide some of the fights now, which really wasn't the case back in the day. So this next portion of the video is going to be different than of my other era breakdowns, mainly because it's still happening. Because it is still happening, I have to predict what's going to happen in the future, and there is no end point as I'm recording this, so I kind of have to envision what's going to happen based off of some clues that we have gotten from production or outright confirmation we got from production from what we have seen when it comes to repeated patterns of the last few seasons and the climate of society. So I have to kind of just merge all of that to kind of see what would happen. And also look at past patterns to predict that as well. Hold on, let me get a drink of water because I have a lot of notes here. Alright, so on my first note, I have the AI arena continuing, which I believe Guana and Mihan outright confirmed, and those are the producers of the show. Though, of course, it won't be under that name, because I'm pretty sure AI won't be a theme next season, so they'll have to rename it to something else. It is popular with the fans, which the producers noticed. It gives a competition every episode of the week that Big Brother airs, and that includes the eviction episode where they can save the HOH competition for the nomination episode. And it adds some unpredictability in the season or in the show. Though honestly, I only think it's unpredictable because of the cast of Big Brother 26, where I believe in future seasons that are a bit more stagnant in their gameplay, they could easily rig it and they could easily game it, and it won't be very unpredictable at all. And because they already saw how it works on a prior season, they'll just maneuver around it, which would take the fun out of it. I wouldn't be shocked if it potentially had the same fate as Battle of the Block did, where that was taken out after Big Brother 17, despite it being a key component of Big Brother 16. But if it's consistent for the next few seasons, obviously you have to deal with it. But if it flops next season, I could see them taking it out. So I already kind of mentioned this next point earlier, but the 7-player jury seems to be sticking around since they did it in the last 2 seasons. Once they could save money, this is just with any television product. Once they can cheapen out and save money by doing something and the audience doesn't really notice or care, they're going to continue doing that. And I think the 7-player jury is a prime example of that for Big Brother. So like I mentioned earlier, a part of the reason why I think this happened is because they wanted to save money during the strike. So less people making it to jury, where if you are on the jury, you make it through the 100 days, even when you're asked the jury house, because you are still sequestered from the outside world. You're not really interacting with anyone, and production needs to pay you for staying the entire season so you can vote for the winner without outside influence. When you take away 2 people, i.e. the first 2 jurors of a 9-player jury, out of that you save money and they get to go home and they only get paid for the amount of the weeks that they're in the game. And because they're not in the jury, they're not getting paid for those additional weeks. So I also think that it adds a bit of unpredictability pertaining when jury is going to start. When everyone knew when it was going to start during the last era, where literally for the first 3 to 4 seasons of the era, they literally pinpointed everything that was going to happen, how many weeks the pre-jury was going to be, when jury was going to start, when there's going to be a double eviction, when there would be a jury buyback, all of that stuff. But we know that despite the 7-player jury, they could start the jury at a different point in time, where jury didn't start until the last third of Big Brother 25, where for Big Brother 26, it was a bit over halfway, so probably like 55% of the season. That's when they decided to start jury. So, yeah. Obviously, the next point is based off of what we've seen throughout the last 4 seasons, is that I do think the diversity of 50-50 regarding 50% of those people being white people and 50% of those being people of color, that type of casting will continue, at least for the next few seasons. And I say for the next few seasons because I don't know if, should I even say it? I'm not really going to get political. I'm really not a political person, and this isn't a political channel. But based on certain, how do I say this? Depending on what laws, legislations, and protocols are put into play regarding television, the diversity era regarding the 50% people of color and 50% white people could end, and if it ends, that just automatically changes this era completely. But I don't know if, because it's produced in California, it would be up to the Californian government on how that is determined, or if it's solely based off of what the studio wants and the higher government doesn't really care. But when you really look at it, damn near all of the reality shows studios are doing it, and I don't think many people care enough right now, or you don't really hear many complaints about the 50-50 casting anymore. And honestly, a lot of people don't even watch reality TV, so some people might not even care enough about reality TV to put some additional protocols or whatnot. But watching, or maybe, sorry, maybe they'll keep the 50-50 POC rule for the next decade or whatever, if this was even on in a decade. But they'll change the demographic. I could easily see, like for an example, 5 of the 8 being a different type of Asian person. The other 2 can be some sort of mixed Hispanic, and the 8th person could be a black person. So I could see them kind of changing the dynamic around like that. And even in Big Brother 26, we saw 3 people of Asian descent on the season when that is never really happened before. And I think because there have been 3 black winners, I wouldn't be surprised if they minimize the amount of black people that are on the future seasons. So I could see them casting a lot more Hispanic people to fill up those 8 slots. So the type of Hispanic, racially, that could open a can of worms. Like I mentioned earlier, they could cast a bunch of different Asian people to fill those slots as well. So I think if they don't change, if they don't get rid of the 50-50 rule within the next few years, I do think they'll change who fits those 8 people of color slots, especially when you look at the winners of this era. That's just kind of a prediction that I have. A part of me is wondering if the seasons in the future will be a lot more political due to the tense election that literally just happened, where it is discussed a lot more now. Technically, politics was discussed a lot in the first era, not only just of Big Brother, but of Survivor in general. Where in those days, they actively casted hardcore Republican conservative people so they could conflict with hardcore liberal Democrats, and you'd see them clash. That's how early 2000s reality TV worked, and they were very intentional about it on both Survivor and Big Brother. I don't know if they'll have the balls to do that now because obviously 20 years have passed and society, especially Western society, has changed. But if they wanted to talk more about politics and if they wanted to, and depending on the atmosphere that comes from the election within the next few years, it wouldn't completely shock me if they went back to their old casting ways with casting some hardcore Republicans to go against some hardcore liberals so they could kind of orchestrate some conflict there. But honestly, that might not even be a good idea. Sorry, I'm just looking at something now. Oh, yes. In general, this current era, in not only just reality TV, but just in general, is a lot more censored. And even when you watch the older seasons, whenever they talk about politics, race, or whatever, it was a lot more unfiltered and kind of raw compared to how it's portrayed now, where it's kind of glamorized isn't the word, but sanitized. That's the word that I will use. While certain things are allowed to be talked about, mainly on the episodes, they aren't open about other things relating to this, especially compared to the 2000s. I'm looking at my notes to see if there's anything else. Okay, no, I don't have too much after this. So, my second last point that I have is obviously what will happen in the future is that the 16 to 17 player casts will continue since they've been doing that since 2012 with Big Brother 14, which is at the end of the post classic era. And they also want longer seasons since it fills their summer programming. So I don't see that changing at all. And we all know that they've been doing longer seasons since Big Brother 15, which aired in 2013. So I don't see that changing anytime soon. It clearly works for the schedule. The show is still a hit in the ratings, so they have no reason to shorten the seasons unless there's some outside influence or outside event. So it's just going to continue on like that. At the same time, I don't think we're going to get 100-day seasons, where that only happened on Big Brother 25 due to the strikes, while the other three seasons in the era were shorter. They're either in like the high 80s regarding their day count, or they're in their 90s. So I think they're going to be more consistent within that range. And out of everything that I listed here, I think that is going to mean the main consistency in the feature. Since they've had it like this for over a decade at this point, there's no reason to stop now. And the final point that I have to mention when it comes to the feature of the show that I'm predicting is that I do think that there will be a returning season in the next few seasons. It could be next year, could be 2 years from now, could be 3 to 4 years from now, but I do think that it is going to happen. I do not think that it will be a full returning season, which only happened twice in Big Brother's history, and the only reason why it happened in All Stars 2 was because they needed a cast quickly since CBS still wanted a Big Brother season, and there's no way they could go through hundreds of newbies, and then with the whole COVID thing being at its height, it's easier to just recruit 20-something veterans. It's easier to access their house records. You just sequester them a bit more, and it's just easier to deal with. But that was, at this point I'm recording, that was 4 years and 4 seasons ago, and in the future, that'll be 5, 6, 7, many years ago by the time these future seasons happen, and things are different now, and they really have no need to do a returnee season. Especially because I think production was disappointed with the both of them, especially the second All Stars as well. And in general, they find all returnees to be difficult because they know how to kind of maneuver around and they're not as easily influenced by production. And when you look at the history of Big Brother, they never go too long without the returning season. Obviously, Big Brother 7 was the 7th season and the 7th year, but obviously they're still trying to figure out the foundation of the show. They just finished it there. But after Big Brother 7, they did a mixed season in Big Brother 11, which was only 4 seasons and 3 years after All Stars, with Jesse returning there. They went 2 years and 2 seasons with Big Brother 13, which was definitely more mixed, which was about or a bit less than half of the cast were returnees, with the Donatos, the Riley Villegas, and the Schroeder Lloyds, making up the 3 pairs. And then because that was so successful, they literally decided to do another mixed season the year afterwards with the coaches and Big Brother 14. Then after that, you skip 4 seasons and 4 years with Big Brother 18, where James, Davon, Nicole, and Frank came in. And then after that, Big Brother 18, they did a mixed season with Big Brother 19, where only Paul returned. And then they skipped 3 years to do another a fall returnee season with Big Brother All Stars 2. So, on average, it usually takes about 5 to 6 years for there to be a returnee season. And obviously, or that's the longest gap, and obviously there have been shorter intervals within those time gaps as well. So I wouldn't be shocked if we have a mixed season within the next few years. And it seems like production likes the mixed seasons because obviously the newbies are easily influenced by the veterans and my prediction, so they'll be cast as water, so they can pop up the veterans, which they're hoping that the veteran presence will cause the ratings to either go up or stay up, and then they can kind of get their desired winner. I do think that it'll be closer to Big Brother 18, Big Brother 13, or a Big Brother 14, where they have a group of returnees, but it wouldn't be like half of them, or it'll be close to half. I think they probably do that, and that would be the first type of mixed season that they do next. Obviously, outside of that, I do think the one returning player thing that they did with Big Brother 19 and Big Brother 11 would be the second most likely outcome. But it was known that that production and the network really weren't pleased with Big Brother 19, with Paul just dominating everything and Paul coming off horribly, so I don't think they'll do that anymore. And like I mentioned before, I just don't think that they're going to do an all returnee season ever again. So, yeah. So that concludes my Big Brother Era's breakdown series or saga, and it was really fun to look through each of the seasons within each era, pick out the consistencies and the changes and the evolution, and then make some broad notes or talking points pertaining each era, and then comparing and contrasting to see the differences between the eras that preceded them and the eras that succeeded them. So that was all very fun to watch. Obviously, I'm doing something pretty similar with the challenge, though obviously the formatting of those have been very different. And when I eventually do Survivor, which I'm hoping to do within the next year, I'll do the same thing, but the format for the era breakdowns would be more similar to how I did the era breakdowns for Big Brother. So, I'm pretty sure I mentioned this in like a post somewhere, but this channel is going to become a commentary channel, which is why I've deleted a lot of my compilation videos from the Lala channel and I put them on the Alal channel. One of the reasons why I started doing this is because one, a lot of those videos were very poor quality. There were better quality episodes for some of the seasons posted, so I thought, okay, I could use these better quality episodes and seasons to update my videos of the compilation videos that I've made. So the ones that were poor quality, I redid them with better quality videos, and I have better quality compilations for the ones that I did eons ago. So I deleted them from the Lala channel and put them on the Alal channel. So for the videos that were still good quality, I still deleted them from this channel and moved them over there. And I also, on the Alal channel, I did playlists, where my playlists for the prior compilations were either non-existent or they're very poor. So I created compilations for each season where everything regarding those or that season on the Allow channel is put under that playlist, and that's kind of how I'm organizing things now. And also, future compilation videos are going to be on the Allow channel. And you kind of already seen how I've done this regarding the compilations that I've never posted on the Lala channel but are new. I'll post a community tab for the Lala channel for the people who are following here but not the other channel that this new video is done, so you can subscribe to the Alal channel or watch the video there. So that's kind of how I'm doing things. So my overall goal is to eventually remove all the compilation videos that I've done that involve actual content of the show from this channel to put it on the Alal channel, and the Lala channel will solely be commentary based, so I can kind of split my content into two, where one is solely commentary and the other is solely footage and compilations from the actual show. So that is my overall goal. I don't think I've put it out there as clearly as I have, and I should have done that. But I've been doing this for like 4 to 5 months now, so it's kind of pretty obvious, but I'm stating it outright that this is my goal. So, yeah, I don't really think I have anything else to say. Actually, no. When it comes to future plans, so I am still planning on making more compilation videos on my other channel. The newer ones that I'm doing, I posted 2 newer ones of April and Harry on the other channel. I'm recording this, I guess by the time I upload this, it'll be yesterday. And I'm going to continue doing that, so I'm going to delete a bunch of my Big Brother 8 compilation videos next, and then upload them on my other channel if they're good quality. If they're not good quality, I'm just going to redo them with better quality footage. And then I might do some new compilation videos of Big Brother 8 of the House Guests. It depends on if they're notable or not. Then I'll do the same thing with Big Brother 9, Big Brother 10, Big Brother 11, Big Brother 12, so on and so forth. So that is my goal. It's been a pain to do anything from like Big Brother 22 onwards. I was shocked to get the Big Brother 22 fight up there, and that's still missing a lot of the videos that or a lot of the fights that I initially had on that video, but the copyright is so strict for some of those seasons with Big Brother 22. I tried uploading the Big Brother 23 fights, but that was essentially impossible, so they really just did not allow me to do so. So anything from like 22 and 23 onwards, I just cannot do. They won't allow me. And even doing some stuff for Big Brother 19 and 20, they tend to block out certain parts. I know for like the first week of both of those seasons, certain clips, they just will not allow you to post no matter what, but everything else from those seasons are fine. So that is where kind of the struggle comes in. I am also eventually planning on, actually, no, I'm kind of toying around to see whether I could upload like fight compilations from some of the other reality shows that I'm watching, so like The Challenge or Survivor. So that's also something that I am playing around with, and that will also be on the Alal channel. So regarding the Lala channel, I'm still doing the Big Brother race and ethnicity stuff. That should be out soon. I'm still reviewing and recapping the challenge seasons and the air breakdown. And then I'm probably going to do other challenge related topics. I'm definitely still doing other Big Brother related topics. I'm hoping to start rewatching Big Brother 26 sometime this week so I can start working on the review for that. Like Big Brother 25, I generally like to wait a month or so to remove myself from the season after the finale happens so I can rewatch the season with fresh eyes and with less biased eyes, and really just having distance from something before you get into it is always the best thing, since you have more clarity regarding the contents that you are looking at. So that's what I'm doing. Hopefully that'll be up within the next few weeks. I definitely do have some Big Brother videos in my mind, and when it comes to other stuff that's not Big Brother or Challenge or reality TV related, I might just post them whenever I feel like it. So yeah, that's kind of where I am when it comes to the 2 channels and what I am planning on doing. Hopefully I get to do more lives like this, whether they're pre-recorded lives just because I don't have time to make full-time videos, or if I'm too busy to do a live but I can't edit a video either, I could just do pre-recorded live, or I might do lives, so not pre-recorded, but actual lives sometime. I have a few ideas regarding when I'm going to do that regarding certain topics, so that's something to look out for. But anyways, that is a mouthful, and I'm getting very tired. So thank you all for watching. This is Lala and Alal, but Lala is who I am. Thank you all for watching, and I'll be back with more content soon. Hopefully things are going well for you all, and yeah, take care and thank you.